My friends like to call me a couch potato, which is super unfair for the potato. Not only is the taste/cost ratio off the roof, it can pretty much be grown anywhere in the world, and personally it got me through some tough times. I'll always defend the honor of potatoes with my life. What is a life? Today I scoured across the deepest roots of internet and found 10 of the most viral and delicious potato recipes that we can explore together. Pretty much all of them impressed me a lot. So let's get started with these potatoes. I'm using Yukon Gold potatoes because they have a higher starch content and a natural buttery flavor, but russet potato is fine too. Potato, you know. We'll start off by cutting off both ends to make it flat, then cut it down the middle to make 2 thick discs. And here's the reason why we save these chopsticks from Chinese takeout. We'll put the potato in between them to help us almost cut it through. Then we'll flip it over and do the same thing but at a 45-degree angle. Basically, you want them to look like this. The cutting technique is called accordion, which help increase the surface area of ingredients and also make them look pretty cool. We're gonna shallow fry them, so maybe 1/4 of an inch deep. We can lay them in when the oil reaches 350. And we'll flip them every 3 minutes or so. You can also take a spoon and just baste it like that. Having oil on top helps with the cooking process. Tilting the pan works too, but at this point it's just deep frying. Once it's nice and golden like this, we'll put it on a paper towel and sprinkle some salt on it, which helps with flavor and keeps it crispy. We'll make a quick dipping sauce which has I give a second chance to QP mayo, sriracha, and some parsley. The accordion cut exposed a lot of surface area, which got really crispy after frying. This recipe is the most viewed recipe on TikTok. I have high expectations for it. It kinda looks like a digital blur, especially around the edges. Now let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. You guys heard the crunch, so I'm not gonna emphasize on that, but the center is the key. It's so soft and creamy, almost like cheesy mashed potatoes. Combined with the crispy shell, all these layers give it such a unique texture. 9.1 out of 10, highly recommend. What a great start to the video. This is definitely the most interesting one. I've never seen any recipe like this.
Here's a recipe using just a few ingredients that you probably already have in your kitchen.
To start, we'll peel and cut potatoes into chunks. Start with salted cold water and just boil it till they're fork tender, meaning you can easily pierce it through with a fork like this.
And then you want to mash it, and I'm using a eraser just to make it easier.
And to mash it, I'm using a Ligma fork just to make it extra hard. I added about 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch and a tablespoon of sugar. I don't think the sugar is necessary, but the recipe called for it. Now I'll mix everything till homogeneous and start folding in the cheese. I'm gonna do a variety. The first one's gonna be a monster. The second one I did a Gruyere. This last one is gonna be a combination of Gruyere and a little bit of mozzarella. Once the patties are shaped, we'll put it in the same oil as before at 350. Shaking it to prevent it from sticking. We'll do about 3 minutes each side, maybe 9 minutes in total. Potatoes are already cooked, so we're just trying to melt the cheese. I don't have any scallions left, so I'm gonna put some parsley on top. It's looking really good. I've never had potato mochi before, so I'm really excited. I want to try it out with rice flour next time. Alright, let's inspect the cheese pull. I think this is the Gruyere one. It's not that great. Let's check the mozzarella one. This is the one with a slice of monster. It's gonna be our last hope. I officially lost my fingertips. Time to give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. It's so chewy on the inside with a thin, crispy shell, and the creamy, soft cheese in the middle complements the potato flavors really well. I'm very impressed. Next time, I'm definitely gonna use rice flour to give that stretchy mochi texture. 8.9 out of 10. It's a little more work, but everybody should give this a try. For this recipe, we're using smaller potatoes. These are called Upstate Abundance. Ironically, they're kind of rare to find. They're pretty similar to Yukon Gold, creamy and nutty, which is always what I'm looking for. You almost always start potatoes in cold water to cook evenly and preserve its starch texture. Season it generously with salt and pepper, top it with garlic oil, into the oven at 400 for 20 minutes. The inconsistency of the crunchy and soft texture actually makes it even better. It tastes like the hybrid of a chip and roast potatoes. Super low effort and minimal cleanup, so I'll give it a 9 out of 10. This 16-hour potato recipe was super viral last year, but it looked insanely difficult to make. First, we gotta slice 2 potatoes really thinly with this mandolin. Are you surprised that I have this? I bought it for this recipe to make sure all the potatoes are evenly cut. We'll put them in a bowl and toss them in duck fat. Well, I don't have that, so I'm using bacon grease. It could also be grease I collected from my hair. Then we'll individually layer them into a baking dish. Bake at 250 Fahrenheit for 2 hours. When it's fully cooked, we'll put something heavy on there to keep it together and rest it in the fridge overnight. It's the next day. I will be wearing the same shirt and you should stop judging. We'll cut the middle with a rain cutter and take it out the most efficient way. Fry at 350. Then we're gonna do a layer of sour cream and a layer of caviar. You see, this caviar is green and leafy because it's high quality. Most people will never be able to afford this, but as you can see, I'm balling out with this YouTube paycheck. The center is a little softer than I expected. I think I made it too thin to experience that 100 layer type of texture, but I do see a lot of potential in it. 8.3 out of 10. If I was your boyfriend, I'd never let you go. This recipe is the best looking roast potatoes I've ever seen on the internet. Check it out.
Here's how to make the perfect roast potato.
That wink got me feeling some type of way. We're gonna chop the potatoes into large chunks and boil it till fork tender. Then we're gonna let them steam dry on a clean sheet pan to develop a fluffy layer. Season with salt and pepper, cover with oil, into the oven at 390 for 1 hour. Every 15 minutes or so, you wanna take them out and flip them. In the last 15 minutes, we're gonna cut out some pieces of compound butter and put it on top. It's gonna impose a lot of complex flavors. Once all the butter is melted through, we're left with these. I feel like we don't even need to taste it. You already know it's good. It's like a crispy pocket of creamy mashed potato. It's 2 distinct experiences in 1 bite. Usually roast potatoes are pretty dry. Since we boiled it, the moisture on the inside is completely preserved. We spent a total of 1 hour and 15 minutes to make this recipe, but it's pretty minimal effort, so I'll give it a 9.3 out of 10. So leek and potato soup is mostly made of leek and potatoes. You're welcome for that information. Now we're gonna turn down the heat and sweat the leeks till they're translucent. Season with salt and white pepper. You see there's some garlic cloves in there too. Add in our potatoes and chicken stock to cover. The soup is basically done when the potatoes are cooked through. Now all we have to do is blend it up with an immersion blender. This is a new addition to the kitchen. Yes, I'm losing to the machines. Look how cool this is. I've never used one this nice before. A dash of heavy cream and it's time to plate. Some of that caviar from before and some olive oil. Good soup. It's very tasty, 8 out of 10, but I don't think I'll ever have potato soup by choice ever again in my life. No offense though. Let's take a break from all these savory dishes and move on to a dessert. It's called the candied yams, but they're really sweet potatoes. It's a southern dish with Western African origin. Yams are not really sweet, so they taste good after being candied. Sweet potato really don't need any more sugar, but we're in America, so here we go. And a 1/4 cup of butter. Lemon juice and some water to make it healthier. Now just put it on the stove, simmer it till the potatoes are done. Take about 25 minutes or so depending on the size of your chunks. Once they're done, we'll put all of them into my instant ramen bowl and then just let the liquid simmer until they become thick like a syrup. When they're coating the back of the spoon like this, they're ready. Pour them in and we'll top with marshmallows. I don't have actual marshmallows, so I'm gonna use really old fluff and then we'll torch it. The mark of a good chef is to believe that torching things is the answer to everything. Now let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because it's unnecessarily too sweet. I mean, I'm still gonna enjoy it because it's sugar, but you know, I prefer a chocolate cake. Using vegetables to make desserts seems a little unnecessary to me. Personally, I prefer just having sweet potato roasted with nothing on it. I know it's a personal preference, but I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10. The McDonald's hash brown recipe was super viral on TikTok, but I don't think that's how McDonald's make them. It's a little different this time. We're dropping whole peeled potatoes into boiling water. Only for 8 minutes because we don't want to cook it all the way. Let them hang out and chill for a little bit before we shred them. Now to this mixture, we're gonna add a tablespoon or so of cornstarch, 1 egg beaten up to bind everything together. Make sure to combine them very gently so we don't lose the texture. Finally, we'll perfectly align some parchment paper on the sheet pan and shape the mixture into a recognizable hash brown. We'll cover it up and put it in the fridge overnight. I'll be wearing the same shirt again tomorrow and you shouldn't judge me. Now they're hard as a rock, oil's at 350, let's start frying. You really shouldn't crowd the pan with large items like this, but you know, I don't have patience. Now the oil temp has dropped significantly, it's gonna lead to an uneven crust. Remember to sprinkle some salt. I feel like the McDonald's one is a collection of cubes, but this one is more like a bunch of strips. I feel like people don't usually pre-cook the potatoes before shredding, and no eggs either. I think all that is for the inside to get softer. You can see a distinct outside layer here that doesn't really happen in other hash browns. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10.
I thought that I've been hurt before.
The egg, cornstarch, and parboiled potatoes give it almost a custardy feel on the inside. It's not really a texture I look for in hash browns. I just want, you know, clean, crisp, soft potatoes. Moral of the story is don't mess with something that's already good. So it's gonna be a 5 out of 10. Maybe I did the recipe wrong. Let me know. Potato gratin is one of those first bite tastes like heaven and the second bite might take you there type of dishes. First, we're gonna cut them into thin slices. Depending on your preference, I'm doing maybe 1/8 of an inch. Then we'll lay them into a baking dish, sort of aligned together like a deck of cards. Don't overfill it because we're gonna pour the sauce in. Starting with 1.5 tablespoons of butter melted down, and then 1.5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Just whisk it in so we can cook and activate the flour. It's gonna act as a thickener. When the flour is cooked, it smells very nutty, just how you like it. And then we'll whisk in about 1.5 cups of milk, little by little, so we minimize the lumps. I realized whisking with a spoon is kind of difficult, so I switched to the Ligma fork. Now we're gonna grate in, get this right, a whole cup of Gruyere. This is pretty much the method to make cheese drinkable. I would shower with this sauce if I could. Now to season it, we're gonna dust it with some white pepper, truffle powder, and some salt. Whisk them all in. You can do whatever you want really. I think I'm also gonna do some garlic and onion powder. And finally, a sprinkle of pecorino romano to give it complexity. Now we can get this white sauce all over the inside of the baking dish. Cover it up into the oven at 375 for 45 minutes. I'm just gonna say it. It looks like throw up. We're gonna save it by topping it with more layers of cheese, starting with Parmigiano Reggiano, a piece of Monster because I think it's going bad, I need to get rid of it, and then finally another 1/2 cup of Gruyere. Also, you want to turn the oven to high broil so we can get the top part melted and golden. I don't really have a time for this, just boil it till whenever the top part looks good. And you guys know how much I'm into darker things, so here's what I have. Don't put any of this in your mouth right now, in case you didn't know. Check out this crazy cheese pull. It wasn't able to hold its shape, so it looks a little mushy. The layer of cheese on top is really carrying the team right now. Let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. You can never go wrong with multiple layers of cheese on a pile of potatoes. So greasy, flavorful, and hearty. I would eat this every day if I had a better health care. 9 out of 10. But I'm starting to get sick of potatoes. Every time I say gnocchi in front of people, everybody makes fun of me, but nobody ever told me the correct pronunciation of it. Traditionally, starting with baked potatoes with skin on leads to a much better texture. I'm steaming it here because it's faster. The dough is just gonna be a little wet, but no need to worry because my fingers have a track record of instantly drying up anything that comes its way. Are you surprised that I have a ricer? So to this pile of potatoes, we'll hit it with some salt and add an egg. Whisk it into the potatoes so it doesn't start cooking it. And half a cup at a time, we'll fold in the all-purpose flour. You don't have to be too exact. Once it starts to look like a dough, it's pretty much done. So for 2 potatoes, I probably did about a cup and a half. Don't over knead it because it will develop too much gluten. We want it to be fluffy. Now dust with some flour and roll it into a long rod. Just a disclaimer, I'm not following any instructions at the moment. I just watched a few videos and started freestyling. But so far, they're looking pretty legit. Once we cut them into little dumplings, we'll roll it on the back of the ligma fork to give it that gnocchi shape. It's not really working, so we're just gonna dent them. I think the potato had too much moisture to begin with, so the dough was never able to hold its integrity. Just like my sister. To boiling water, we'll drop them and cook them till they're fluffy. When they're all puffed up and fluffy like this, it's time to take them out. Probably took 8 minutes or so. These are the ugliest gnocchis I've ever seen though. Once they get a little crispy, turn down the heat, drop in some compound butter and parmesan. We want to try to keep it simple because these gnocchis already taste pretty good. At this point, they should be unrecognizable and every Italian grandma in America is coming to my house to murder me. But any problem could be solved with parmesan and black pepper. I actually have pretty high hopes for this, so let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. It's chewy, soft, kind of crispy on the outside. It's honestly really good, but somehow it doesn't taste like a gnocchi. It's closer to a butter, cheese, mini potato pancake sort of thing. I think we just created a whole new dish. I guess we create new dishes in every video, but this one didn't suck that much. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, that's all 10 recipes for you today. Hopefully you learned something. I recommend you trying some of those. They're pretty impressive. Alright, let's get to some important announcements. First of all, we just reached 1 million subscribers. It's unbelievable. I'm really proud of us. To celebrate, I really want to make one of those realistic cake thing, and I'm gonna do it in the shape of a ligma fork, and we'll do some Q&As while making the cake. So ask any questions in the comment section, but I want you to answer the same question about yourself so I can get to know you a little better. It's gonna be a fun video to make. Remember last time I asked all of you to send me your midnight snack recipes so I can review them? I wasn't able to make that video because almost all of you just sent me more struggle meal recipes, which I really appreciate. I'll definitely make a second struggle meal video in the future. But before that, since it's the holiday season and we're with family and stuff, why don't you send me on Instagram a family recipe, like a recipe from your grandma or something. So keep in mind, family/grandma's recipe. Just for now, no more struggle meal recipes. We'll continue in the future, I promise. Our community's come a long way. It's been fun making these videos and getting to interact with all of you. I'm new to video creating before this channel, but I think I'm learning to appreciate it more and more. For the future, I just really hope that things don't change too much. It'll be cool if I can just chill with you guys like this forever. Alright, thank you.